Did I get my smart ass face right for the icon? Uh, I need to straighten out the Valentine's Day koala. Did you get a koala for Valentine's Day? No, you didn't. So stop hating on my koala. You're jealous. Gotta get the Moogles in order. Probably better just leave the Tonberry facing that way. They're kind of evil. So, anyways, Misha, just in time for me to try to gather my thoughts. Anyways, yeah. Anyways, definitely. Anyways, I'm gonna set that there because I need coffee to gather my thoughts. Because there was a clever way I wanted to introduce this train of thought, lest it get derailed when presented. It's kind of one of these things like why Final Fantasy players all get along and are all good people. And I really think Final Fantasy is one of those things, kind of like saltwater aquariums, that it really draws out the best in people. And basically, you could take a kid with psychological problems growing up and give them Final Fantasy, and it will help them deal with their psychological problems and prevent sociopathy. Seriously, Final Fantasy is that attachable. It's that sociable. It builds the value that you need to feel in other people to keep your sanity. It builds the value of friendship. Misha, can you stop wrestling with the box just for a little while? I know what I ask is impossible. Generally is. But you ever feel that way when you're playing Final Fantasy? Man, anybody who plays this game, I want to know that they play this game, because there's no way you could play through these games. Especially like 7. Oh my god, 7. Anybody who played Final Fantasy 7, you're automatically the brother and sister of anybody else who played Final Fantasy 7. Because you know the value of fighting for what's right. And you know that what makes a good person is that they value the friendship of other people who want to fight for what's right. This cat here. Just in case you're wondering what all the damn noises are. Let me not show the overflowing mini trash can. Yeah. So anyways. How about that? It's too early for me to just sit here and stare at my face the whole damn time. Do you really want to stare at my face the whole damn time? I mean, I am kind of man pretty. But no. So, okay, she's now digging in the corner of the box. Oh my god, this is not going on. Misha! Oh! Cut it out! I hope you guys get a good laugh at this. I know I would. Anyways. Like, the level of wisdom that I wind up conveying on this channel, or my old channel too, this channel now, or the channel previously known as this, whatever, I don't know. And the shit I got to deal with. Just the richness, the irony, the pricelessness of it all. I don't see how it can't dawn on some people. To any of my YouTube censors who wonder whether or not censoring me was the right call, do you play Final Fantasy? Do you know what it's like to try to want to save the world, or to want to try to save the world? Because let me tell you something. If you want to save the world, let my voice be heard. Because every word I speak is designed to help heal what you have done. Now, to that end, let's talk about one another thing that you feel people, but it's hard to put in words. You say the words Final Fantasy. It's like, it should be like a meet me at Montauk moment for any fucking stranger. You know, if you watch Eternal Sunshine of a Spotless Mind, the couple's having these fights and they're both basically insane, and just to get each other back to their sane place, they have to like meet each other in this at Montauk, a beach called Montauk, in their minds. And or else their memories will get erased. And it's kind of a nice metaphor on what happens in reality. You meet people every day and wind up being cold to them, wind up them not seeing the value in them because you can't have that Final Fantasy moment. What's up, Carlos? Tiempo largo no te me veo. I don't know, like, I'm sure there's a much classier phrase than that in Spanish. You know, sounding out fucking words like a caveman. Long time no see, man. You see, another one of them things, I know, you know, like Carlos, for instance, he'll see the premise. And he's not going to agree with where I'm going with this. Then again, most people don't. I'm definitely in the minority on a particular issue that I'm segueing into. Well, another one of those things like Final Fantasy is what it takes to resist brainwashing. So you may have watched a horror movie or maybe a good anime. A good anime will often have this kind of a plot twist in it, where all of reality, everyone speaking in unison, takes a point of view. And the character, the protagonist, you, me in this instance, remembers one key detail, one little thing, one subtle thing that they noticed, one subtle thing that I noticed, that throws a wrench in the whole fucking argument, that makes it all a lie. And it scares the shit out of you because you realize the entire world is going in the wrong direction because they all believe this lie that has become so convincing. And let me tell you, when every stand-up comic you know today got their, foothold by making fun of this instance as if it were true, it's really plausible to take a step back and acknowledge the possibility that a lie may have been repeated so many times that we all take it for granted that it's true. But if you're that one person who realized that one thing that your mind, your history, your life's journey was trained to be able to notice, and you notice something because of your particular perspective on things, well, it's damn near crazy making, but it's mostly just saddening. Especially when you see how the world has been torn apart ever since. It seems like such an innocuous thing to most people. But again, that's a lot to do with how many people have made stand-up comedy careers beginning in this era, joking about this subject. I'm talking about Monica Lewinsky. Now you see, the thing that I noticed, I'm sure you're dying to know. When Bill Clinton sat and testified on camera, something that doesn't seem like somebody who would actually have anything to hide would do. And here we are witnessing somebody who actually has somebody to hide, and lo and behold, they're not willing to do it. Well, let me just quote what he said, and then I'm going to tell you why I have a problem with it, or what I noticed about it that sticks with me to this very day. And every time I watch it again, it just, I can't find any other interpretation of this that is within Bill Clinton's very considerable means to bullshit. Okay? I mean, I understand how good of a bullshitter Bill Clinton is. I understand exactly how good of a bullshitter Clinton is. And I kind of love him for it. But, you know. Anyways. He's not this kind of bullshitter. Know what I mean? And he's not the kind of bullshitter that would do stupid things. His bullshit is based surely on intelligence and calculation. Very, very smart guy, especially politically. He said, I did not have sexual relations with that woman, Ms. Lewinsky. Okay. That's the key thing. Is the exact tone and expression that he had gives away the motive behind why he felt the need to clarify. Okay? It's because he was being swift-boated. It's because he was being Fox Newsed. And he knew that if he had just left it with those words, they would have said that he didn't say anything, that he didn't actually give a denial. So he made a decision out of anger, out of spite, out of, what do you call it? Attrition. To specify, oh wait, Ms. Lewinsky. Now, an intentional bullshitter, hear me out, an intentional bullshitter, especially if Bill Clinton had done this, the type of bullshitter that he would have had to have been to begin with, to have done this, would have simply, I did not have sexual relations with Monica Lewinsky. Okay? Now, one could try to make the argument, but that's why I predicated this on saying that Bill Clinton isn't a good enough bullshitter. And in fact, nobody at that time, our knowledge as a society of bullshit had not evolved as much as it has now. The internet, TV has helped all of us evolve considerably on what it means to bullshit. Okay? He did not at that point, okay, at that point in the history of television interviews and understanding them and politically analyzing them and politically calculating what statements should be made, he did not at that point have the ability to bullshit that well. Okay? The bullshit would have been, at that time, the best bullshit that anybody could have think of would have been, at that time, to simply directly say, I did not have sexual relations with Monica Lewinsky. He could not have calculated that he should pretend to be angry and misspeak intentionally. You understand what I'm saying? It's almost plausible to think that, but it's actually a rationalization when one considers the level of bullshit at the time. We can consider that nowadays, that somebody might be able to calculate that and be able to pull that level of bullshit off nowadays, especially somebody like a Bill Clinton. But in 1997, not so much. Because it's not that Bill Clinton would have, failed to think of it. Of course, Bill Clinton would have considered every different possibility of delivery. The fact of the matter is, it's not about the actor, it's about the audience. You understand? The audience would not have been swayed by such subtlety. Obviously, it wasn't. It's just me. So if you want to say that Bill Clinton is just that good of a bullshitter, understand how good of a bullshitter he is. He's even better than you thought. And he would know that that kind of subtlety wouldn't have done him any good. And that's the main thing that proves, absolutely proves, that was genuine angst. That was genuine feeling of indignation that he's being disrespected. He didn't go around calling it a witch hunt, because it was a fucking witch hunt. And nobody questioned. Nobody questioned. Because we all thought the Cold War was over. That's the key. That's the key to most misperceptions currently. It's one of the keys, and nobody's even talked about this. It's one of the keys to why many, many percentage points of Christians just gave up on their faith because they thought the Cold War was over. Even to the point of adhering to the idea that Cold War and conflict in general is just a control system of some sort. People would basically give up religion for conspiracy without realizing that they had accepted something a lot less plausible. But easier, more self-assuring, less responsibility. Now, further evidence exonerating Bill Clinton is what Mueller has done now that Ken Starr didn't do. That's impanel a grand jury. You know what that means? That basically means an investigator, Ken Starr in one instance, Robert Mueller in this instance, is so convinced by the preponderance of evidence and is so professional, really that's the quality that comes into play here, is so exemplary in their professional detachment from the scenario before them, that they give authority over the investigation away from themselves. That's what impaneling a grand jury does. That's what Robert Mueller does. That's why firing Robert Mueller wouldn't do any good. That's why Trump is fucked. Okay? That's why I said he should have left the country a long time ago. Every fucking day that Donald Trump stays in the country is putting more people in jail. Okay? Every fucking day. At this point, I'm kind of loving it. Ken Starr was on a witch hunt. So he wouldn't want to give a grand jury power over his investigation. He wanted to make a political impeachment happen. Robert Mueller isn't after a political impeachment. Robert Mueller is after a bunch of people in Congress for conspiracy against the United States and obstruction of justice. It's going to be a whole lot easier to prove the obstruction of justice, and he's already, well, gotten plenty of people in the House and Senate to cooperate. So the rest of you better watch the fuck out. But that's the sticker, okay? Robert Mueller has so much confidence in the preponderance of evidence that he's already gathered. And, you know, this decision was made a while ago, so just consider that preponderance of evidence existed way back then when they impaneled the grand jury. Ken Starr didn't want no fucking grand jury. Because they might have been able to make their own skeptical decisions. They might have been, you know, competent enough, non-corrupt enough, should I say, to ask for a second lab to test the dress. In fact, they would have reconvened 4 years later when the Russian Federation publicized their capability to clone and fake DNA evidence. Only 4 years later, in 2002, the blue dress incident didn't happen in the beginning. It didn't come out until 1998. But we all think it's true, right? I'm just a crazy person for not believing what everybody else believes. I understand that. And I don't hold it against anybody who feels that way. But when it comes to anybody with a last name that ends in ski or ov with a V, judge them by their works. Yeah, there's perfectly good people who have come here from those places. Perfectly good people. Some of the best people, okay? But just like any other group of people, one is worth taking and the other is not. And that kind of reminds me of the works by which they should be judged. You see people saying that homosexuals are all going to go to hell. One will be taken, another will not. That's what the baby Jesus said. If you want to argue with the baby Jesus, good luck with that. But be warned, I like to picture the baby Jesus as a ninja. Okay, sorry, I can't get over how funny that is. I can't. Dear 9 pound 6 ounce cute cuddly baby Jesus. But anyways, I think my point has been made. I got about 20 minutes left for my next order of business. I've been having to do a lot of driving lately since my wife can't see much out of one eye. She can't drive at all. My wife, who used to do most of the errand running because of my back, can't drive at all. So we've been having to find rides. And anybody want an Integra? At this point, we got one driver and 3 cars, and I don't, I can't conch an extra car. My Accord, I'll keep that for my toy, But this Integra, it's got to go. First person to bring me $1,000 gets it. Damn shame too. The motor's probably worth $3,000. Smooth as fucking glass, that motor. Smooth as fucking glass. You can always tell if a Honda motor, or I'm sure any other motor, but specifically Hondas, if the motor is in just damn good shape, if it starts on a low battery charge with old ass oil in it. Now, if a low battery charge just makes it jog over easy, that's different from what I'm talking about. That means you got bad compression. But if it'll go like that, that's a good fucking motor, man. If it's sitting there like that's bad compression. That's an old shitty motor. And God bless its heart if it does start. I had an Integra. My first Integra. The first Integra that I lived in. I lived in 2 Integras. It's, I got class. The first Integra. After I tried to fix it up, registration wound up costing more than the repairs, and I moved back in with my dad to go to college in Texas, okay? And she's like, fuck that, I'm not paying the money for that. Which didn't make a whole lot of sense to me, but it did later when he, bought himself a new car after making me drive his old one. But he made me drive his old one. And after I didn't even live there anymore, I went back and I tried to see what was left with my Integra, to see, how long it was going to be allowed to sit there. And it had sat minimum 9 months. Minimum 9 months. There's no possible way I had been there. But I hadn't started it for a while before I left there. So I really think it had been about 1.5 years. This car, 88 Acura Integra, 1988, with the pop-up headlights. Had a sunroof. It was a LS model. Luxury. Had power windows, powered fucking everything, man. It was great. Most of it didn't work, but it was still great. And I went out there and started that fucker. No jump start. No jump start after fucking at least 9 months. Sitting in a field, grass growing up, fuck around it. And it started. On 3 cylinders, no less. I had a pretty bad ring leak. The oil kind of welled up in one cylinder, and it would often have problems, and that was the one cylinder that didn't start. So I knew what the problem was, and I knew I could fix it with paper towels, and I could get that motherfucker running on all 4 cylinders. But I had 2 weeks, and I just found out I had 2 weeks. I could not do anything with that car in 2 weeks, and it wound up getting towed to I don't know where. Might have been crushed. Crushes me thinking about that. I just wasn't man enough, wasn't successful enough, wasn't capable enough, whatever. The world chewed me up and spat me out 2 fucking times. But you know, that never broke me. And I'm still that guy who's on a quest. And I'm looking for friends to join me. Because I know that we can save the world. If Google would just let us. Anyways, thanks for watching. Do the thing if you want. Make sure you're subscribed and whatnot. Share the video to anyone who might think is interested. Blah, blah, blah. YouTuber, sign off stuff. Blah, 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 blah. Bye-bye now.